Hello and greetings to all. So today my name is Nick and today I am going to present a clinical case study in this radionuclide imaging modality. The code of this case study is NM08, so let's start. First, I will explain about the patient data and the available clinical information for this patient. A 25 years old woman in otherwise good health presents with several episodes of severe headache. MRI demonstrates a small area of enhancement in the right thalamus, and stereotactic biopsy confirms the diagnosis of the grade 3 astrocytoma. Thus, this patient is scheduled to undergo dedicated brain imaging of 18F FDG PET scan to define metabolic extent of the lesion, to determine if the additional lesions are present, and to serve as a baseline for monitoring the effect of radiation therapy. For the examination procedure and the preparations, first, in this procedure, the clinical indication for this dedicated brain imaging in this FDG PET study that correlates with this case would be the prognostication of the gliomas. An astrocytoma is a type of glioma that develops from the star-shaped glial cell astrocytes that support the nerve cells. Also, the other indication is it also can be used to provide the delineation of the tumor extents for surgery and radiotherapy planning. It also serves as a baseline for response assessment during and after radiotherapy and chemotherapy intent, and it can be used also in the differential diagnosis of cerebral space-occupying lesions detectable of viable tumor tissue such as recurrence and for non-invasive grading. Relative contraindication would be the pregnancy and the lack of cooperation or inability to cooperate with the procedure. For any diagnostic procedure in a female patient known or suspected to be pregnant, a clinical decision is necessary in which the benefits are weighed against the possible harm. In this procedure, few preparations need to be done. In pre-arrival of the patient preparation, patient should fast for at least 4 to 5 hours to allow optimal cerebral FDG uptake is not influenced by the increase of the serum glucose levels. Patients need to avoid caffeine, alcohol, or drugs that may affect cerebral glucose metabolism. Intravenous fluid containing dextrose or parenteral feeding should be withheld for 4 to 6 hours. Adequate prehydration is important to ensure a sufficiently low concentration of FDG in the urine and for the radiation safety reasons. For example, consumption of 1 liter of water during the 2 hours prior to injection is suggested. Patient must avoid strenuous exercise for at least 6 hours before the study and preferably for 24 hours. LNP status is determined for this female patient to rule out any pregnancy possibility, and for those breastfeeding patients, ICRP does not recommend interruption of breastfeeding after the FDG administration, since little FDG is excreted in the milk. However, as the lactating breast accumulates FDG, it is suggested that the contact between mother and the child be limited for 12 hours after the injection of the FDG to reduce the radiation dose that the infant receives from the external exposure to radiation emitted by the mother. It is recommended that the infant be breastfed just before the injection to maximize the time between the injection and the next feed. In the pre-injection patient preparation, the medical records should be reviewed with a special focus on the diagnosis, the type of cancer and known sites, oncological history, and also relevant comorbidity. The results of prior imaging studies should be available to review, including planar radiography, CT scan, and MRI if applicable. A blood glucose test must be performed with a calibrated and a validated method. It is good practice to check the blood glucose of the patient on arrival at the imaging center to ensure that the level is not too low or too high. The height and the body weight must be determined precisely for the measurement of the standardized uptake values. The patient should be informed about the procedure to guarantee optimal compliance. For instance, patient should be able to lie still on couch for duration of examination in about 30 to 45 minutes. Patient should void immediately prior to PET examination to reduce the bladder activity and for maximum comfort during the study. Before the injection, patient must be ready by removing all of the metallic object and change the attire to her hospital gown. The cannula for IV administration is inserted in about 10 minutes before the FDG administration. After the injection, the patient needs to remain seated or recumbent and silent. Patients should be kept warm starting 30 to 60 minutes before the injection of the FDG and continuing throughout the subsequent uptake period and examination to minimize the FDG accumulation in brown fat. This measure is beneficial especially in the winter season or if the room is air conditioned. The environment of the injection room should be in quiet and dimly lit. The radiographer must minimize the interaction with the patient prior to, during and after up to at least 30 minutes post-injection of FDG to reduce the radiation exposure. The radiopharmaceutical used in this study is 18F-fluorodeoxyglucose FDG. The recommended injected activities for brain imaging in adults are as follows, which is 185 to 200 megabecquerel with manually intravenous administration. Flush and rinse out the administration shrink with at least 10 ml of normal saline or solution without glucose using the 3-way valve. The scan should be performed with the patient positioned in supine with the head in a dedicated holder and the hands are placed by side. The entire brain be in the field of view, including the entire cerebellum, and extreme neck extension or flexion should be avoided. In this PET imaging, the static image acquisition is preferably starts 30 minutes after the FDG is administered. This time interval allows achievement of better contrast between grey and white matter, as well as between tumor and the normal brain tissue. Moreover, it used 3D acquisition in which coincidence detection using all detector rings, no septa between rings. Typically, data are acquired over 15 to 30 minutes, aiming to collect 50 to 200 million detected events. The duration of emission image acquisition should be related to the minimum required number of detected events. Furthermore, images are reconstructed in the form of transaxial images of at least 128 times 128 pixels. A usual pixel size is 2 to 4 mm. Depending on the resolution of the PET system, a final image resolution of 4 to 6 mm full width half maximum typically yields images of adequate resolution and noise. Commonly used filters are Henning or Shape Logan, which should be finely tuned depending on application, injected activity, camera and acquisition type, and even physician's preference. Such methods may improve target to background ratio and are used in the many recent PET systems. A standardized image display is advocated to ensure an appropriate, symmetrical, and most readily interpretable representation of the reconstructed dataset. Reconstructed transverse images can be displayed for interpretation and quality control. The display of additional coronal and sagittal images is mandatory. Additional resliced images in coronal and sagittal sections should be displayed routinely, which often help better delineation of the lesions. Once the scanning is done, patient will be asked to wait until the radiographers and the doctors are able to double-check the images. In some cases, patient may be asked to return to the additional scans. Once the doctors and radiographers have approved the scans, patient is allowed to leave the unit. Patient is advised to void again in dedicated toilet in order to minimize radiation exposure accumulated. Also, patients should drink plenty of water to enhance the excretion of the radionuclide from the body. Patients should notify immediately the doctor if the patients feel unwell and unusual symptoms such as nausea, headache, and fever after the examination. In a clinical reasoning part, a list of PET tracer can be used to image various aspects of tumor biology. In this case, FDG is selected as it is most widely used PET tracer for evaluating brain tumors. The advantages of F18 labeled tracer is the favorable half-life of 110 minutes, which allows the distribution to centers away from the cyclotron facility. Compared with the other radio tracer, half-life of C18 and N13 are 20 and 10 minutes respectively, which make their availability restricted to centers with an in-house cyclotron facility. A positive correlation between F18 FDG uptake and the degree of malignancy has been demonstrated with the high-grade tumors glioma, which shows a higher glucose consumption than the low-grade gliomas. The association of tumor F18 FDG uptake with survival has also been correlated in the various studies. Next, it is well known that the PET imaging is functional molecular imaging that uses tracers to visualize biological process. MRI is the primary clinical imaging modality in the patients with the glioma at all disease stages. However, MRI alone is not adequate. At this point, PET scan plays an important role, and it is being increasingly used to supplement MRI in this clinical management of glioma. 18F FDG PET study reflects the uptake of glucose in the tumor areas and determine the spatial distribution of radioactive PET imaging agents quantitatively in vivo, using elevated metabolism at the molecular level to map the tumorigenic activity. This imaging method provides an additional insight beyond MR imaging into the biology of gliomas, which facilitates the analysis of the tumor from the perspective of glucose metabolism. 18F FDG PET imaging can also show alterations in the tumor microenvironment glucose metabolism, also known as the oncological Warburg effect. Moreover, the risk of radionecrosis increases with the increasing use of the stereotactic radiosurgery and when chemotherapy is combined with the radiation for treatment of high-grade gliomas. It is clinically challenging to evaluate the disease status with the use of MRI in brain tumor patients who have been treated with this kind of the treatment. Treatment-induced changes such as radionecrosis appear as enhancing lesions on conventional MRI images and can be difficult to distinguish from similarly enhancing recurrent tumors. And this study delivered 81 to 86% of sensitivity and 40 to 95% of specificity. A reasonable approach in interpretation of this FDG PET scan is to use normal white and grey matter as the reference regions. Lesions with the FDG uptake similar to or less than the white matter uptake are probably radionecrosis, while the lesions with the FDG uptake higher than the grey matter uptake are probably recurrent tumor. Lesions with the FDG uptake higher than the white matter but less than the grey matter uptake may be radionecrosis, recurrent tumor, or a mixture of both. So this is the references, and that's all from me. Thank you.